All right, guys, welcome to Ace Podcast Nation. We're here for the footy podcast today. I am joined by Jamesy and Hayley of
Hi.
Wales. All your Wales merchandise needs, that's where you go, without a shadow of a doubt.
Cheers, dude.
Okay. Indeed. Jamesy's a ground hopper. He was just telling me he's been to 164 Welsh League. Was it Welsh League grounds or non-Welsh non-league grounds? 160 odd in 4 years. So you'll be all right as long as we don't talk about like the British Premier League, and then you'll be stuffed because you don't watch it. So should be good.
Premiership.
It's always a good start.
Football League Division 1.
Yeah. Well, it's the Premiership. That's right.
League One, yeah.
What it is. Yeah. Well, that's the problem, isn't it? It's like I've stopped going to watch Cardiff.
Yeah.
He's stopped going to watch Cardiff and doesn't watch any Premier League football. Do you go to watch Cardiff now, Hayley?
Every now and again, not very often.
So we're really useful. We're going to have a fantastic chat about what Cardiff should do. Cardiff fans will love us. we tell them what they're doing wrong. It's going to be great. Okay.
What's not to love about this?
Yeah, it's going to be a car crash. This is. I can see it already.
I watched Match of the Day 2 weeks ago.
I watch Match of the Day. Yeah, I watch Match of the Day too, so that's okay. That's where I get all my news from. It's the BBC. Okay, then. First subject, we'll go to Jamesy. International break. Do you love it or hate it?
Doesn't affect the Welsh Premier League. Well, for me, football carries on.
Yeah, I suppose it doesn't stop, does it? You just carry on going to watch the Cardiff Met?
We played on Saturday. The Wales game was on Sunday, so not an issue.
Oh, yeah. Excellent. What about you? What about you, Hayley?
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it, love it, love it.
I think like when I used to go to Cardiff every single week, or like most weeks, I hated it because it just seemed to be like a breakup of everything. And then
we never had enough players though, to play for Wales, so it never affected City when you were watching them.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very, very true. But like the thing is, like, I can understand why people hate it, especially the Premier League. Like when you got just everything stops and it's just for pointless friendlies, and I can understand why people get frustrated.
Tell me what's pointless about going up to Wrexham to watch Wales play Trinidad and Tobago. Tell me what is pointless about that.
That's very true. Although there was a few I've seen on Twitter, there was loads of North Walian Welsh fans moaning about the team and the team which he picked, because it was like all youngsters and that, and I think like Chris Gunter and a load of like 18-year-olds, but like
you get to
they're
see
all
Chris
good.
Gunter, and what more do you want?
Oh, this is true. Legend Chris Gunter is. He's my hero. But I do see. If it was me, I wouldn't mind it because I'd quite like to see like all the young Welsh players. But I don't know. It's just the way I look at it.
We've got such a group coming through now. They are all so incredibly talented. I mean, I kind of get the point. You know, people with taking their kids to the games who can't get down to Cardiff so easily because of the days the games fall on with their kids. You know, those kids want to see the likes of Bale and Ramsey and, you know, the household first team names. But at the end of the day, I mean, Ramsey was injured anyway. And the important thing was making sure we had the best available team to face Slovakia.
I 100% agree with that.
And I think
that's what we did.
I 100% agree with that. The aim was to put out the best possible side against Slovakia, not to put out the best side against Trinidad and Tobago and appease the paying public. And I think up to a point, Giggs took an unfair amount of flack for doing things like training at Carrington, etc., etc.
Which is ridiculous. Because, you know, that's one of the best training facilities in the UK.
Yeah.
And the opportunity for our players to, you know, have that standard. I mean, Giggs played for Wales at a time where, you know, they'd go and do training sessions in Usk prison.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want that.
I remember
he doesn't want that for this squad. So he's taken them to this facility. You just don't have that facility in Wrexham.
No, I completely agree.
No, it's true.
And that's
the thing is as well, it's like I was going to say, the thing is, when I was like 16, 17, and I used to play down Treforest for like South Wales or whatever, the Wales players used to train in the same place where we used to train. Yeah. So it's like, if you want them to, especially half of those, even though those young players, they all train. They're used to top facilities of their clubs.
Yes, they are.
So you can't expect him to go and use Wrexham's facilities when he can phone up his mate and say, "Can I use Carrington?" Exactly. Well, of course you got to. It's not far from Wrexham as well. It makes zero sense. But yeah, people love a moan. The thing is, I watched that game because I thought Dwight York still played for Trinidad and Tobago, but he does not. He does not. So I was disappointed.
They all
turned up. They turned up for Bale and Ramsey. I turned up for Dwight York, but no luck.
The thing is, though, Si, I think it showed a bit of overconfidence on the part of Wales playing Trinidad and Tobago.
I know. Why take on one country when you can take on two?
Yeah, take on both of them with youngsters as well.
Yeah,
it's fine.
We beat two nations with youngsters.
With our kids.
About it.
Yeah, people are never happy. It's the problem these days.
Exactly.
So, what did you think of the Trinidad game, Hayley? Because I didn't see the Trinidad game. So what did you think of it? You were there.
The first half was bad. Bad is probably the best word to use to describe it. And first of all, I should mention the anthem up there, which was incredible. It was spine tingling. But the standard in the first half was not great. But then you've got a load of players who've never really played together before, so it's that gelling period, isn't it? Second half, it was much improved and there was much more cohesion. There was still some times where it was laugh out loud funny, some of the mistakes they were making. But you know, we pulled it together. We got a win. We've seen these players get bedded in a bit more, so you know, there was a lot to take from it, I think. But you know, the important thing was Slovakia. So
yeah, I think it's minutes on the pitch for all those younger players.
Exactly.
But normally you bring in like one or two, maybe three youngsters at the most, rather than it was the majority of the team. From what I saw,
there was a point in the second half when the average age of the guys on the pitch was about 22 or something ridiculous like that. Which goes to show how far we've come, because we never used to have a squad that big with that many quality players in it. So
the under-21s have been doing well for the past few years, haven't they? They've regularly like in playoffs and stuff. Did you watch it, Jamesy? The Wales, Trinidad, and Tobago.
I did. I think there's a misconception amongst certain elements of maybe the Welsh media that back in the day Toshak blooded all these players, but I think his hand was forced at the time. He couldn't do anything else. Whereas this was a conscious selection by Giggs to actually blood these players, and obviously leave a few out in preparation for the Slovakia game. So for me, it was the right decision. Whether the North Walian public agree with it, what would they rather see? Bale and Ramsey risked and then get
break
injured
a leg.
Yeah.
or would they rather? Okay, we've beaten Trinidad and Tobago, but more importantly, we've got 3 points against Slovakia, and also Croatia have lost to Hungary. So
Yeah, that was a huge result.
How you look at things is not. It might at the time it might be irritating, but nothing. It never says on the ticket that you're guaranteed to see a player. So you go there to support. You go there to support the team. So regardless of who's playing, you're there to support Wales, and that's like that's maybe my issue with the naysayers, the people who say, "Oh yeah, but they should have played such and such," or my kid was expecting to see. There's no guarantee. You go and see a film with Jason Statham in it, and you're guaranteed to see Jason Statham. Or you're guaranteed to see someone.
Yeah. I
but
think
there was never a guarantee.
Go on, mate.
So there was never a guarantee that Bale or Ramsey or whoever would be playing. So
no, exactly. It's only a couple of weeks ago that Bale was injured.
Yeah.
So why would we risk him in a game of no importance whatsoever a few days before the Euro qualifiers kicking off?
But can you imagine if Bale broke his leg or something, or even just pulled a muscle, so he was out of Slovakia game? Giggs would have got slated then, and it's like, well, you kind of can't win then.
Why would you play him in a friendly ahead of a qualifier?
Yeah.
Exactly. It's almost like he's damned if he does and he's damned if he doesn't.
Yeah, it's just screwed either way. People moan. It says the biggest moaner in the world ever, but like people just moan over fucking anything. So just gotta let them moan, I suppose. So moving on to the Slovakia game, what did you think, Jamesy? Hello, Jamesy. He's gone. What did you think, Hayley?
I thought it was great. The whole day was brilliant for a start. I mean, everyone was talking about going back to Bordeaux and, you know, the atmosphere in Bordeaux when we last played Slovakia in the Euros, and the weather was beautiful Sunday, and I walked through town and went down to Mill Lane to meet up with the guys beforehand, and there was just like everyone sat outside. There's red shirts outside everywhere, and then walking up to the ground, and it was a good solid performance, I thought. Joe Allen was absolutely everywhere. Dan James was brilliant. It was just a real good. I mean, the older players, Joe Allen, you know, they had all their experience and they put everything they had into that, and the new players just slot in so brilliant. The younger guys coming through, but no, Dan James was just something else.
I think it's a travesty that Joe Allen is playing in the Championship. He's far too good to be playing for a Championship side. He's been so consistent since the Euros, and even like I thought he struggled a bit in the Euro qualifiers. But at the tournament, he was outstanding.
He was phenomenal.
People just don't seem to notice.
No.
But we know Dan James is Dan James is popular at the moment, and he leads in.
Yeah.
And I read in the paper today that Man City are basically going to sign him for money and then send him back on loan.
Yeah, well, he signed a new contract with Man City, hasn't he? Or am I thinking of someone else?
No, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
He signed a new contract, didn't he? And, so
he'll go back on loan to Leeds.
Stuff. I think
he's better than
I think but in the same way, I think he just needs games, needs to play week in, week out. He's never going to get that at City at the moment.
No, not at the moment. But
so he's just got to do it.
But they obviously think really highly of him.
Games. Yeah, I think. Do you know what? yet again, England have got an easy group, and Wales always seem to have a tough group. And I know it's like you're seeded, and it's about how well you do. And we didn't do very well when we were like seeded after the Euros.
No,
but it's so frustrating. They waltz through their group.
With the Nations League, obviously they've gone through now to the playoffs of the Nations League in June. So if they win that, which, they might well do, they'll get an automatic place at the Euros anyway. So then that frees up more spaces. So, it doesn't really matter who they've got in their group because they'll be there regardless. But
there's just so many players to pick from.
Yeah.
It's ludicrous.
Yeah.
But they won 5-0 and 5-1.
Yeah.
But Czech Republic have just gone. They used to be really tidy side, and they were always a good bet.
So tricky.
Well, if you had a tournament, Czech Republic were always a good bet to finish in the last 8 and have a good run. But this is rubbish.
They're on the decline basically. At the moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not as rubbish as Scotland.
Oh my God. Well, they beat San Marino, didn't they? But who do they lose to?
Kazakhstan.
Kyle, you're back, Jamesy. Welcome.
Hello.
It's good to be here.
Just snuck back in then. It's just I've been here all along.
I'm just listening. It's interesting. I'm learning. So.
We were saying about where did you cut out? Slovakia game. I was asking about. No?
Oh yeah.
That's when he disappeared.
I think with Scotland is. I think the England thing. You're always going to get that. They should be where they are. They'll always get perceived easier draws because they're ranked so highly. That to me isn't an issue because that's just the way it is. And I'd expect the same for any nation. Scotland, on the other hand, where do they go from here?
It's absolutely hilarious.
They're already calling for the sack of McLeish, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's he's 2 games, but I mean,
who's going to
when you lose to Kazakhstan?
They weren't exactly convincing against San Marino. That was hilarious.
Great to 2-0.
I mean, I watched that game, and they were they were lucky, I think.
Well, when you think
my favourite thing about whenever I watch San Marino play is when they start listing all the their real jobs.
Yeah.
There's plumber, decorator, and all that, and it's just they still beat Scotland.
It's like
dear.
It's like old school FA Cup 3rd round day. They just go. Everyone seemed to be a headmaster or a postman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Might be a doctor or a dentist.
Yeah. People would say, "Oh, it's only 11 humans against 11 humans, but those other 11 humans are all full internationals, and we're all postmen and work in factories and play part time. So whilst it's 11 humans, it's not. It's 11 full internationals, people who scored 30 goals and played in World Cups against a headmaster or a PE teacher from a local school.
If you look at the Scotland side, they've got some decent players. They're not like your Messis and your Ronaldos, but they've got Premier League footballers. So regardless of manager, they should be
considerably better than they are.
Well, yeah, they should be beating San Marino comfortably. McTominay plays for bloody Man United. I'm just gonna have a look at their squad then. See who they've got. But they've got they're not it's not like a bunch of Scottish 3rd division players.
No.
They're Championship and Premier League footballers and Celtic and Rangers, I imagine. So let's have a look what their team is.
But then you look
at that Oliver Burke is good. He's a really good footballer. He is. I like him.
He was at Leipzig, wasn't he? Oliver Burke.
Yeah.
But then you look at that game. Maybe that is there, I don't know, say Wales v Georgia when we lost 5-1 or 5-0.
Jesus Christ.
Maybe that is
Yeah.
them. That's it. And I think the problem is with a lot of nations, they buy into like a short-term solution. So they buy into whatever tactics are fashionable at the time. So you had like Borussia Dortmund in the early 2010s with the way they played, and obviously Barcelona. But you need your own.
Yeah.
You need to forge your own identity. There's no good just like tagging on to something if you haven't got the players to do it. And like too many nations try it. I think too many
And
teams
they try and
it.
play players in positions that
Yeah.
aren't natural to them because they want to fit this formation.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work.
And that's
I think
that's what I thought Giggs was good on Sunday, was that the players were utilised. I don't think Bale had a very good game, but he's always a danger.
Yeah, and the thing you've got with Bale as well is that the defenders are always on him. Every opposition player, second he picks up the ball, they are around him.
Yeah,
but that takes the attention away from other players on the pitch. So even when he's having a quiet game, he's making a difference by pulling defenders away.
I 100% agree with that. I think one of the best players, the most unselfish players I ever saw live, strangely, was Eric Cantona. And when you watched him, obviously, you'd watch him on Match of the Day and see the highlights and maybe see him live, and the goals he would score would be unbelievable. But then I saw him play against Spurs, and the amount of unselfish off-the-ball play he was involved in, that's when you realise that a player is real class and will sacrifice himself for the team. And sometimes, I think with Bale, he almost feels like he's got to do it all on his own, which he doesn't necessarily have to, but all he's got to do is, like you say, take players away, or maybe if other teams double up on him, that it gave Dan James loads of space.
Yeah, it did.
Well, that's how he scored, wasn't it? Is that he ended up being completely unmarked on the edge of the box because the opposing teams, they're more worried about Bale than, let's face it, they probably haven't heard of Dan James or haven't heard of a lot of the young Welsh players, but they know who Bale is. So every time they get the ball, they double, triple up on him.
Yeah,
and it's the same with, I think, to a slightly lesser extent with Ramsey, but obviously he was injured.
Yeah.
What do you think about Ramsey going to Juve then? Jamesy, you're the Italian football guy. What do you reckon?
I honestly think it's a great move for him. I think it'll suit him down to the ground. And Piers Morgan doesn't support Juventus, so it'll be perfect for him.
So he's on to a winner already.
Yeah, he's on to a winner already. But I think the tempo of the game will be good for him. He can orchestrate things from midfield. It won't be the cut and thrust, but I think it will improve him as a player. But his passing and his ability's never been in question, and that's what the Italian game is. It's a technical game, which I think
it suits that playmaker role, doesn't it?
Yeah,
and I think he will absolutely thrive in that.
I agree.
The thing is, I think he's one of the most underrated midfielders in the Premier League. Or should I say, sorry, the Premiership. I think he's
Division 1.
I do think he's one of the most underrated midfielders, and I think when he goes to Italy, I do wonder whether, because they play a bit less, it's not as intense, but also they don't play as many games close together. I do wonder whether he'll pick up slightly less injuries, and he'll just go on to really show what he can do. Because you go on Twitter and all Arsenal fans do is just slate him, and it's just like you don't know what he's got.
It now.
Well, they're all moaning he's going now.
Yeah,
but then
that's really, isn't it?
you look at how many injuries Arsenal have, and they're not injuries sustained in games; they're injuries sustained in training. That would be a worry for me. That either they're overtraining, or there's an issue at the club where how are they
training too intensely?
Yeah, but how are they picking up so many injuries during training sessions?
What they need is for
But it's
Dr. A to go in and teach them about periodization.
They've but it's been like that at Arsenal for years. Even like, so you're talking 10 years ago, like there was Vieira was regularly have at least one injury a season.
Yeah.
Same with Petit and all them, because even like especially the last couple of years of Wenger's reign, it was like they had like 2, 3, 4 injuries all the time, and it was never like a broken leg or a broken jaw or something from an impact injury. It was always muscles.
Yeah.
And just and you've got to what? Why? You think they would address it at some point?
We look at Ozil. Ozil sometimes it almost seems like he doesn't play because he doesn't fancy it, not because he's injured. He seems to have the flu. Or
It's like he hasn't got the energy, isn't it?
Yeah, he is. He's well, the thing is, like they train, what is it, 5 days a week, and I know they have like the day off after the games and stuff like that. But how intense you train on those days is going to make a difference to how intense you can play in the games. And like even with my boys now, like with the oldest one, once they've played like an academy game, they don't want them playing the next. They don't want them playing the next day at all.
Of course they
and
don't.
I wonder if they just overtrain them and they just, obviously you've got to train every day. I get that, but like you don't have to be like cut and thrust going at it hell to leather for the whole hour, 2 hours, whatever training, however long it is. You got to use your brain, innit? Some work on your tactics and try not to injure your players. But anyway, I digress. We went from Scotland to Arsene Wenger and Arsenal's injuries. That's all right. And by the way, I take back what I said about Scotland's team being full of Premier League players, because it's not. There's Oliver Burke, who's really good, and then it's like you've got the likes of like Jamie Forrest and McGregor, and I don't really know any of the other players. I got to be honest. McTominay, obviously. Let's have a look on the bench. Yeah, it looks like they got a couple of postmen, a plumber. So maybe Kazakhstan are the favourites. I don't know.
Anyone from
Scotland?
Oh dear. So Northern Ireland. Yeah, we'll edit that out. We don't. Scottish fans will be all my Scottish mates will be like sending me hate mail.
But you look at the Scottish team in the 80s and the early 90s. You had like the vast majority of it was Division 1. People like Alan
top players.
Alan Hansen, Gordon Strachan, Jim Leighton, Man United. 78.
Archie Gemmell.
Yeah, 78. But yeah,
Jesus. Ali McCoist.
Ali McCoist. But they were proven players. Mo Johnston was at Nantes. They were decent players. But you look at them now, but maybe it's all cyclical, isn't it? Like you look at Wales in the past, and you look at some of the players we've dredged up and who've played for us. Yeah. You just think, so
Vinnie Jones will start.
You look at the anthem though. So
never forget that. Yeah. But that's what they need to do. Scotland, maybe they need to start going to look up some people's grandparents and their sisters, brothers, aunties, cousin, and go from there. Vinnie Jones is a proud Welshman, I'll have you know. He's got a Welsh tattoo and everything.
He's got a tattoo.
Automatically qualifies.
Well, he was captain,
Jesus Christ. God, do you know what? When you like watch him in like lock, stock or something, and then say, just imagine him speaking, and then that he was Welsh captain.
Of course he was.
Strange days.
You just try
It's
to
just a
block out
weird
so
one,
much of
wasn't
the Bobby Gould era, don't you? You just try to block it out.
So bad. So bad. Ah, dear. Anyway, I don't want to start thinking about all the bad times. I'm finding it hard enough to keep up with like the good times over the last few years. Don't want to start thinking about all the bad times. There's like 25 years of pain.
I think
Because obviously I am only 30.
I think you could probably soundtrack the Bobby Gould era to the Blur song "This Is a Low."
No, it's the Manics every time Bobby Gould must go.
Yeah, either or.
Yeah,
You can split them. There's plenty of footage, so
Yes.
they can see seamlessly into each other. From Bobby Gould must go to "This Is a Low."
Jesus. Yeah, not a fan of Bobby Gould, I gotta be honest. Seems like a lovely guy, but
do you know he used to like answer the phone on the ticket lines? Like I've heard stories about people would like ring up to try and sort tickets to Wales games, and he'd be in the FAW's old offices on Westgate Street dishing out the tickets.
That does not surprise me.
Good effort.
It was like a one-man band. I'm surprised he wasn't captain at one point.
The problem is he wasn't like doing it as like if Bale did it now to like for the lucky fan who rung up. It was just that the Welsh FA couldn't afford anyone else to do it, so the manager had to do everything.
Yeah,
and he could have been on double time. So why not?
That's it.
It's part of the contract.
So Northern Ireland won both their games.
Yes,
comfortably.
Was it Estonia and Belarus?
Yeah, 2-1 against Belarus and 2-0 against Estonia.
Yeah,
they've done so well over the last couple of years, because
they have.
They haven't got the players that even Wales have got, really.
No.
They haven't got like a Gareth Bale or a Ramsey or even like Wayne Hennessy and people like that. It's pretty amazing what they've done. Michael O'Neill did an unbelievable job for them, getting him where he got. And I mean, let's be honest, we only scraped past them in the Euros.
Yeah, we did.
It could have easily gone the other way. So,
that was one of the best own goals I've ever seen.
It was arguably the most stereotypically British game I've ever seen.
Oh, wasn't it?
It was, wasn't it?
And
oh my gosh.
That's the thing that always worries me. Whenever we come up against one of the British teams, we are always rubbish. It's like it always just gets dragged down to this horrible, battle-y game, and it's just like, this isn't how we play. How are we sucked into this? And it happens against Northern Ireland in the Euros.
Do you think that's because the players all know each other?
Well, I don't know.
And
I don't know. I don't know
familiarity of the expectation. There was very little quality in that game.
It was awful.
Albeit we won. But then to put it in perspective, you look at Croatia, who've got, like, talking about countries, Croatia have got a population of just over 4 million, and got to the World Cup final.
Yeah.
So, what is it? Is it fluke? Is it just the golden generation and that's it, or is there actually investment in facilities and pitches and things like that? You look at Iceland, and other countries. Is it random, or is it a genuine a plan that FA's put in place?
I'll tell you what Northern Ireland's plan is. They play ex-Cardiff City goalkeeper, or academy goalkeeper, Josh McGuinness up front. That's their plan.
You should always start with a goalie up front.
He was a goalie for Cardiff in the academy. I think he was on the bench a few times for the first team as well.
He was, but he went up front when he was still at Cardiff, didn't he? I'm sure he did.
Like, you don't hear that very often. I know there's loads of players who've changed position over the years.
Yeah.
But you don't hear of many who've either gone from goalie to outfield like that close to the first team.
No.
But I mean, he starts most of their games for Northern Ireland. I don't think he's a particularly prolific goal scorer, but I mean, I was just looking for the last few games. He's had like 6, 7 out of 10 every time. So like he obviously works hard and does a job for him up front, but it just boggles my mind that he was a goalkeeper for like kind of basically under 21s, and he's now a full international striker.
He's done all right for himself, hasn't he?
Yeah, who's he play for now, club wise?
Do you know what? I can't remember.
I think he's in Scotland.
I thought you meant. He actually.
I think he plays for a Scottish club. I'm not sure.
Right. I'll have a look now. So,
yeah. Google it, Si.
No, do you think Northern Ireland will qualify from their group? Or should the better question be, do you know who is in Northern Ireland's group?
Yeah, Holland and Germany.
Oh, Jesus, that's a painful group. So is it a top two and then?
No, they won't.
Did Northern Ireland get through the Nations League thing? I know hilariously Scotland did.
Did so they really?
Can be yeah, they're in the playoffs. Wow. So they could lose every game and then fluke their way through to the finals.
Jesus.
So but Northern Ireland's
group. Estonia, Belarus, Luxembourg, Germany, and Netherlands.
Yeah.
Oh, to be honest, I mean, they should finish third at least. Really.
Yeah, they should.
Estonia, but they've beaten Estonia and Belarus already.
Holland aren't what they used to be. I think they could certainly get a result against Holland.
Yeah. See, they only take some. If they could
finish second,
pick up a win, yeah. Be good.
That's my prediction. They'll finish second in that group.
Cool. What do you reckon, James? Do you reckon they'll get through? Is he gone again?
I think he's still there.
Jamesy, you still there or? No, gone. Okay. Away we go. England are going to qualify for their group, obviously, because they've already scored 10 goals. So Republic of Ireland, they beat Georgia 1-0 and Gibraltar 1-0. They're not what they used to be, but they seem to always manage to get it together come qualifier time.
Their wins,
they always seem to.
Their wins, though. Their wins, though. It's 3 points, I think.
Yeah.
It's difficult. People read into some of these results and go, "Oh, we should be thrashing Gibraltar. We should be doing this. We should be doing that."
Yeah, all it matters is the points on the board.
You look at Wales qualifying for the Euros. We scraped beating Andorra. Still got to the Euros.
Yeah.
So for me, 3 points is 3
and
points.
I was at that game.
3 points.
And it was one of the most horrible games I've ever watched. And the conditions out there, I don't know how it replayed on the telly back here. I don't know. Did you go, Jamesy?
I didn't know, but it was on 3G, wasn't it?
Yeah. But even up until about 2 or 3 days before the game, they were still inspecting that pitch and weren't sure whether they were going to actually be playing the fixture there. That was how bad the pitch was. Because we all flew over to Barcelona, not knowing whether the game was going to be moved to Spain, moved to France, whether it was actually going to be in Andorra, and every time that ball got kicked, there was black coal. No, exactly. There was black coal like flying up from the pitch every time the ball got kicked. It's
not coal, it's rubber crumb.
Rubber crumb.
Do you know what?
My bad.
That stuff.
Welcome to
there
the
was black stuff floating up from the pitch.
That black stuff, it gets everywhere. When my kids strip off after football, you just get those black bits everywhere. And they're just in the bed, on the floor, everywhere. There must be like big piles of them in the changing rooms. But Ireland, Republic of Ireland have got they've got a pretty decent squad. They got like Seamus Coleman as captain.
Yeah.
Decent players, but I mean, they just always seem to be there or thereabouts at the end. No matter who their manager is, no matter what players they got, they just seem to go close, even if they don't qualify.
You always know what you're going to get with them, really, don't you? They're like a safe pair of hands, and
not like Scotland.
You know what sort of performance? Yeah, yeah. You know what sort of performance they're going to put in. They very rarely do anything different. It's just they're consistent. That's what I'm trying to say. They're consistent.
Yeah, they are. No, you're right.
I'd even venture workmanlike.
Workmanlike. A workmanlike consistency.
So, moving away from the international stuff, we're going to go to Jamesy's strong suit, to the Premiership, Division 1.
Barclays League Division 1.
So, yeah. After England's game with Montenegro, obviously there was loads of like racist abuse again for the black players. But I mean, what caught my eye wasn't necessarily that it happened, because it always happens whenever anyone goes there. It's been happening. Danny Gabardon tweeted out something like, "This happened when I played there, and they didn't do anything, and it's still happening now, and it'll still happen because UEFA just don't do anything. They don't.
No,
they fine them pennies, and they do nothing.
They need to do. They just need to kick them out, because if you've got the same behaviour emanating, fines aren't going to do anything. It's not going to stop anything. But you actually expel that country from the tournament.
The fans will self-police themselves then, because if the country gets kicked out, the fans will self-police it after that, because they don't want to get kicked out again.
No, a fine doesn't.
Whereas
affect
now,
them.
they don't care, do they? But whereas if you've got a group of fans who are doing it and they've been kicked out of one tournament, the rest of the fans who are not taking part but also not objecting, or they're not sort of reporting it or whatever you want to say.
I don't think it makes any difference, this playing games behind closed doors and fining nations pennies. It's a joke, but that's a joke across world football, not necessarily just Montenegro. That happens across the board. So if you look at the Roma fans, Lazio fans, and things like that, but they've been fine. This is money that they'll make back through selling 2,000 tickets. So for me, you've got to don't hit teams in the pocket. Hit them on points, and that's when they'll stop it. When they realise that they're getting deducted serious amounts of points. Now, for me, where you start it, I'd start with 2. Happens again 4. Happens again 6. Happens again 8. You lose them. That's why I would say for World Cup and Euro qualifying. But in league games, I'd happily go, or Champions League, -3, -6, -9, -12, and keep going down.
Yeah.
The problem isn't getting solved. These behind closed doors games are an absolute farce. That you don't make. You look at Montenegro's ground that probably holds about 15,000. Not going to care. Not going to lose that much money playing behind closed doors. But if you hit them them points wise, and then their seeding goes down and they're facing harder draws, that's the only way to do it. For me, I can't. There's nothing more abhorrent than racist abuse.
No.
And it's horrible, mate.
I think.
Do you know what?
Too much
as well.
Pathetic UEFA, FIFA, not pandering to the racists, but almost saying, "We'll do this." It's almost paying lip service to it. It's not proper. It's not a deterrent. It's not a deterrent to racist abuse. What it is just saying, throw us 30,000 euros and consider the matter closed. The matter should never be closed.
No, absolutely it shouldn't. And I don't think any of the governing bodies in football are doing anywhere near enough to stop this.
No.
Because,
and the thing is...
And we know how greedy they are as well. So by them slapping a fine on, they're getting more money in their pockets.
Yeah.
So... You know,
Yeah,
if
and I
they
think
still want the money in the
money,
pockets, take the money in the pockets, but you need to do something stronger than that and send out a real message so that people start getting the hint that this isn't acceptable and there should be lifetime bans for people caught doing it.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. That's the first
they
thing.
should be charged. Like, they should be arrested, let alone football bans and charged. But like, what annoys me even more,
Well, yeah, if you
like
were
what
walking
annoys
down the
me,
street doing it, you would be charged, wouldn't you? You'd get arrested and you'd get charged. So what's the difference of being in a crowd at a football match?
exactly. But what annoys me about the punishments is the money that they charge him for a fine. Montenegro probably made from TV fees for the game, if not more.
Yeah.
So they haven't even lost the amount of money that they're fined because
No.
they made it in TV fees. So it's like,
that's the problem.
there's only one way to do it.
Nothing's proportionate. So you look at, like, hypothetically, you look at, say it happens to Roma in the Champions League, and they get given a €20,000 fine. The amount of money they've made through the gates, revenue, merchandise, TV fees, prize money.
Any profit they've made from ticket sales, TV rights, whatever, that should be the fine.
That doesn't. Do you know what? I like that. I like that. You rescind all money they received.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
And if that doesn't get clubs to take action, then nothing will.
And dock them points.
Well, that's it. It's the only thing they care about is money. The clubs, on the whole, like whatever club it is, it's money which matters the most. Even like the top clubs now, they'll settle for top 4 because they get all the money from the Champions League. So you've got to take money from them, but it's got to be an amount that's proportionate with what's going to affect them. So, like, what's going to affect Cardiff Met is different to what's going to affect Man City.
No racist there, my friend. Everyone welcome.
All right. That's it. That's right. But
I need to get down the Met at some point.
More than welcome.
It's good. I went to watch the Taffswell game.
Did you?
With Matthew. It was good.
Nice.
Promotion winning game.
My son plays Taffswell. That's it. So, no, that's what I was going to say. So the thing with Raheem Sterling, which I found, or what caught my eye, was not so much that it happened, because it happens constantly with him, is the way he acted, or the way he reacted to it. And I noticed it. He had that, was it the Chelsea fan who was screaming in his face earlier in the season?
Mm-hmm.
The way he handled that compared to the way he used to act when he was at Liverpool, he seems to really have like grown up a bit. And it's sad to say, but I think he's used to it. Like, he's used to a human being is used to being screamed at, like, and abused so much that he just laughs it off. But like, there's one thing like shouting for your team as they come down to take a corner, and then there's another thing doing the stuff which was happening in the England game against Montenegro. And did you see he pulled his ears out and made like a funny face or whatever? And I was just like, that's the way to handle it. Because or do what Danny Alves did, and when they threw him a banana and he just ate it and threw it back, which I thought was the greatest response to racism I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But they got to do something with it.
I don't want to say they're handling it really well, because they shouldn't be having to handle it at all, like you said.
Absolutely.
But they are handling it with a maturity, and it is kind of sad in a way.
But I think you're right. I think it is sad, because I think like people like Sterling, who've been in that team now for I don't know how many years, 5-6 years, they've been there. They know they're going to get it. And it's like they know nothing's going to be done. So they've just got to deal with it.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe
I think
when
the
they
bravest
first went
thing they've done is come out and say, you know what? The press is almost encouraging this. Who was it that came out and said it wasn't Sterling, was it? Or was it Sterling?
I
Or was
think
it
it
Danny
was. It was Sterling.
Sterling? And criticised the media and the rise of these right-wing opinions in the media, which have become more and more prevalent since Brexit. And I've gone into politics now. Jesus, I've divulged. But there is this rise of this attitude again, which seemed, we thought it all died in the 70s and 80s. And the media, certain aspects of the media are almost maybe not encouraging it, but humouring it in a way.
They're not.
I think
not
they are
shaming it.
I think they are encouraging it, and that's the worrying thing.
Well, certainly rags like the scum and the Mail are.
Well, some of the headlines Raheem Sterling's had to deal with.
Oh, well, that's it, isn't it? They go after him, and they paint the black players as like all about the bling and the music and this and that.
Yeah.
And they paint him in a certain light. They make him seem like they don't give a shit about the fans. They're just all about money. They don't care about the clubs. They just every day, just headline after headline. Like there was a rumor going around that Sterling had like 8 kids, and like he had something like 8 kids by different women, and it was all complete bullshit. But like, you get people who read that, and they read the same shit
and they
every
form a
day.
Judgment. Yeah.
I think it's always going to be the case where people think that they've paid, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 pounds to watch a game of football, and they're entitled to an opinion. And they can say what they want, and
act how they want, and do what they want,
and be blameless because they're letting off steam, or they've paid their money, they're entitled.
I paid my money.
And I can do what I want. Yeah.
And whilst you're entitled to an opinion, when that opinion is criminal, you're not entitled to it.
No.
So, and whilst you're entitled to opinion, other people are entitled to respond. And I think people forget that, don't they? They think that they can say and do what they want, and it's my right to do it.
And that's the thing. And like Haley said, the 70s and 80s, and even into the 90s, it was still there. There was an undercurrent. There's always been an undercurrent of racism, but without wanting to go to politics and that sort of thing. The Brexit and that it is growing. There's no doubt about it. And as long as we've got cameras in stadiums, and there's so many cameras these days, these people can be picked up.
Yeah.
So for me, it's not. It's
and that's.
But it's what I worry.
That's the annoying thing, isn't it?
What I worry about is the self-policing. Is that people aren't saying no, that's not acceptable, and it's the same with certain things you hear about, possibly with Wales games sometimes about women and like the red wall and things like that at away games, and that's what I've seen on Twitter.
That was me.
There isn't that self-policing element where we're all happy to be part of the red wall, and it's great and all the rest of it, but there's got to be an element of like calling people out. And I understand.
I know exactly what you're referring to, Jamesy, because it was me that had the incident in Dublin.
Was it?
Yeah, that was me. Hi. And I refused to speak to the press about it. I had, Wales Online and the BBC coming to me like, "Will you speak to us about this?" I'm like, "No, we're dealing with this in house."
Yeah.
And you know what was most? I mean, I stuck my head up and said something because FSF, the Football Supporters Federation, had got wind as to what had happened to me, and it wasn't a major incident. I've certainly experienced worse, put it that way, but I shouldn't have had to experience it in the first place. I'm there to watch a football match, not to have some random bloke grab my ass. And what was heartening was I put it out there on Twitter. just so if other people had experienced the same thing, because I knew at least one person had, then they
Yeah, I was
would
going
be
to say
able
I
to
read
come
someone else.
forward. Yeah, they'd either come forward to me or they'd come to the FSF, and we would deal with it, and we would find a way forward to deal with it. And what was most heartening was the huge response from people saying this isn't acceptable. If we see anything like this, we will stamp it out. We will say something. We will stand up. And it's like, great. You know what? And after the game in Dublin, I mean, Dublin's always a tricky one anyway, because it's kind of like almost like a stag do mentality when you go out there.
But that's exactly, well, that's what I've heard about a lot of Wales games recently. Is it is? I think I was speaking to quite a well-known Wales fan who said he's never seen a Welsh away following as drunk as it was in Denmark.
Yeah, Denmark was,
and it was that, as you say, it was that stag mentality. It was a weekend away for everyone, and so
I mean, what was nice for me was because I stayed in our house rather than in Copenhagen, and a lot of people stayed in Copenhagen and then bust in and out for the game, and everyone was just hammered, absolutely battered. I mean, I like a drink before a game night, but you know, I'm there to watch the football at the end of the day. But this was something else. And it was just like after that, and then after Dublin, it was just like the next game will be different. It won't. And there was just like a running joke between. There's a lot of us that go regular to away games, and everyone kind of knows each other. It's kind of a little family, and the people that are doing this we've never seen before, and you pick up faces when you're going away for so long. You pick up familiar faces, and we just don't know who these people are, and we're all like joking up. It won't be like this in Albania. Wasn't like that in Albania. It was. You know, it was back to
stay everyone at home at Albania.
Not really a stag destination, Tirana, is it?
No.
Well, no, it was in Elbasan as well, so it wasn't in Tirana. Beautiful country. But you know, everyone went out. Everyone's drinking in bars, but it was back to that nice atmosphere that didn't feel like it was going to tip over the edge at any moment. So
yeah, I was going to say, because like during the Euros, where everyone I spoke to just said like the atmosphere was just like a party, and it was just like everyone was mates, everyone was friendly.
Yeah.
And then just over the last year or so, it started to tip over the edge a bit, and like I think stag do mentality is probably the best way to describe it. But then maybe those people who are acting like idiots there's a difference between being blind drunk and giving racist abuse. I think that's important to say. But like also, it's like it's just.
I think there's
when you're
enough
that
of a
drunk
within Wales as well that we will self-police it.
Yeah, and I think I think fans of clubs and countries self-policing it will do a shitload more than anything the FA or UEFA or FIFA or anyone else will do, because they're too scared to tackle it head on. They sort of always like a slap on the wrist with, take the fine and we'll just forget it happened type thing. So, away from that, Tottenham Hotspur's new stadium was opened. Do you think they should have been forced to wait until the summer and the start of next year before they could use it? As in, do they get an advantage or a disadvantage of having to play now in this new stadium? Whereas,
say, 60.
Well, the thing is, 60% of the teams, or however many games are gone, have played Spurs at Wembley, and then like the rest have now got to go to a different stadium, and like could affect relegation, could affect places, and I just wonder whether they said it was going to be ready for the start of the season. It wasn't.
Yeah.
They said it was going to be ready for just before Christmas. It wasn't. And then now they finally opened it in April or whatever. Where are we? Not quite in April yet. March.
Yeah.
I just went, should they have said, look, you said it was going to be opened at the start of the season. We gave you one extension. You didn't. You still haven't done it. So you have to wait until the summer now. Because, for instance, Cardiff have played them. But then what if Burnley go and play in this new stadium and Spurs struggle in the new stadium, which is common for a lot of teams when they go into new stadiums, they struggle. Burnley pick up 3 points. That's had a big effect on the relegation battle, for the teams around them. And I just wonder whether that's an advantage for some teams and disadvantage for others. What says you?
That's
Hayley?
A very interesting perspective on it, because I was just thinking on that, it's a disadvantage for Spurs, more likely, but I hadn't even factored in teams going there that are in relegation battles. And that's a very, very interesting point. Like, I think ultimately they should be till the summer to transfer over. I'm not sure about switching stadiums in the middle of the season. It doesn't feel right. I mean, unless there's some sort of extenuating circumstances to why they have to get out of a stadium and find somewhere else to play. I think mind you, them playing at Wembley's ridiculous as well. But no, I think they should, just stick. They've obviously registered to play their home games at Wembley for the season. Play the home games at Wembley for the season. Move in the summer. Yeah,
it just doesn't sit well with me. I got to be honest. I just feel like, I don't know, like I said, it could have a real big effect on what happens towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have all sorts of people moaning. If a relegation threatened team goes and beats them and they go on like a bit of a run of draws and losses, people are going to start moaning and then be like, what happened with them? What was it? I've forgotten. What do you reckon, Jamesy? Is he gone again? I swear he's just like nips off to go for a cigarette or something without saying anything.
His little thing's still there. That came out wrong on a podcast. Edit that out.
Yeah, he just texts me. He's had to shoot off.
Okay.
We'll finish off. There we go. It's all right. Oh, sorry about that. Right. Okay. So yeah, Spurs. I don't know. It doesn't sit with me too well. I got to be honest. I reckon that Jamesy just dived out because we're getting to the Premier League stuff. That's
probably, yeah.
So, news today was that Solskjaer, new manager of Man United, permanently.
Yeah, I mean, after the last 3 months, I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. I think it would be more of a surprise if he wasn't. He's been phenomenal since he's gone in there. He's been absolutely brilliant. He's turned that club around. I read somewhere, I can't remember where it was, I read it, that he's brought a level of calm to the dressing room, and you can see that in the players. They're enjoying playing for him.
Yeah.
Whatever Mourinho was doing, it was destructive.
The opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a weird one, isn't he? He just, especially over the last sort of 5 or 6 years, he just seems to have got really nasty and negative, and he's lost like that swagger and that cheeky, like he used to have a really cheeky sense of humor in the way
when he
went
first
about
went
his
to
business.
Chelsea, that was it, wasn't it? It was just, it was like an ego, but it was funny.
Yeah, it was.
It's
been quite nasty, like over the last, probably like 3 or 4 years. Like when he went back to Chelsea after being at Madrid, he seemed to have changed.
Yeah.
And I know he won the league with Chelsea again, but he just he never got that same momentum. And at United, like they won a couple of trophies, but he never seemed to have that same backing of the players that he had when he was at Chelsea, where you felt like Lampard and Terry would literally just die for him.
Yeah.
And he never seemed to get that at United, even though they won a couple of trophies.
He never had that dressing room on board.
No, and I think the second he started calling out Shaw and Pogba this year in public, and he stripped Pogba of the captaincy, regardless of whether he deserved it or not. The minute he brought that,
it's the way you go about it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the end of that. What do you think about the turnaround from Solskjaer from his Cardiff stint? Because the one thing which it is, because when he came to United, I said to a couple of the boys who I'm mates with on Twitter, who are United fans, I said, look, he's all right. He'll get him playing. He'll get him confident. But tactically, he's terrible. Really naive.
Yeah.
And he's proven me wrong, because in all the big games...
our words, don't we?
Oh, yeah. And in the big games, he's changed his formation and tactics depending on the team.
Yeah.
And they did it versus Spurs, and they did it versus Chelsea and Paris. They just would tweak just something little. I think in one of the games he played Lukaku, but he played him out wide, and he played Rashford through the middle.
Yeah.
And he just keeps just tweaking it. So he's obviously he's got a better level of player to what we had when he was at Cardiff.
But it just seems to be a complete different change in tactical nous. How much of that is down to Mike Phelan? I don't know.
Yeah, I think
he's obviously pivotal. So what they need to look at next, because is a Mike Phelan in a contract with a club in Melbourne, and he's only on loan as well. So they need to getting him
signed up
permanently is key, and I think he will. Because it would be interesting to see how Solskjaer did without him there. But you know, the thing is with Solskjaer, he gets Man United, he gets them. He knows how that
straight away. He was comfortable,
runs.
wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
He like you say, he gets it, and you could see straight away he felt like he belonged. Whereas a lot of managers who have been there since Fergie's left, they just haven't felt like the right club.
Yeah.
And I think they needed someone maybe who's been there and done it. I do think without Phelan, it may be a different story, but then maybe that's not giving him enough credit for what he's done. But yes. So let's move on to Cardiff. Do you think they'll stay up? Confident. I like it. Just a yes. Absolutely. No doubt.
Ask me in a fortnight.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just when you think they pull in a couple of results together, it goes back downhill again. I mean,
they just had that run of games where they've had to play good teams, haven't they?
Yeah. I mean, that last game at home, is that Wolves? Am I going mental?
Yeah. No, I think it was.
Who did we play the other week? Yeah, I was there, and I can't even remember who it was.
No, so they lost to Wolves, didn't they? It was 3-1 or 3-1 because we scored at the end, didn't they?
It definitely wasn't that one then, because we won it. Yeah, no, we won this one.
So
it was just before the international.
We lost 3-0 to Everton. 3-0 to Everton, 2-0 to Wolves. West Ham, 2-0.
West Ham. Of course it was West Ham. Pete was there, and he's a West Ham fan. yeah, I mean, that was more like the battling Cardiff performance you expect, and they came out of the blocks, and that's the sort of performance we know that they can produce. The fact they haven't done that against teams like Wolves is a concern, and there's quite a few away games coming up now, so
Yeah, they played
it's
some
gonna be,
big games.
yeah. Is it Fulham, Brighton,
Yeah, they got
Man
Man
City
United
coming
last
up?
game of the season.
Yeah,
Chelsea Sunday. Oof.
Chelsea on Sunday. I just think it's
I
going to be
think
too much.
after after all the stuff with Salah happened, you could
Mm,
see that everyone was together, and there was like a 2 or 3 game period where they just looked like they were gonna, no one could have beaten them. They would just seemed so together.
yeah,
And I think once that raw emotion had passed, it was
yeah,
always going to be a challenge if they could pick themselves up and keep it going. And that they obviously
yeah,
they went on like a little run there where they lost a few games, and then like you say, West Ham was a good win, and then you got bloody international break, which is some people don't like, and that's the exact reason why, isn't it? You
yeah.
get a result, or if you're on a run, you get
And then the
frustrated
momentum
because the
goes.
international break comes along and
Yeah.
you lose momentum, pick up injuries and whatnot.
But on the
Do you
flip
think?
side, they have had a lot to deal with since January.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
The fact that
maybe
they're,
this time out will actually do them the world of good.
yeah, I think so, and I think the to be where they are after everything that's happened, after the very little amount of money they've spent since
Yeah,
they got promoted, the small squad, to be still not relegated and still be in with a good chance of staying up,
yeah,
I think is real testament to what Warnock's done there. And I
yeah,
think,
it
I
is.
know
He's done a great job.
his Premier League record's not great as a manager over the years, but I
No,
think he's done an incredible job for Cardiff. And I did
no.
see after the Everton
Yes.
game, there was a few people on Twitter saying he should be sacked, and I was like,
Don't
why
be
would you sack
ridiculous.
him with like
Yeah,
10 games to go?
yeah, yeah,
That's kind of what they did with Malky Mackay. Is he'd never been in
yeah.
the relegation zone, and they bloody sacked him, and they went down in flames. But I mean, obviously there was other stuff with that as well. Do you think that Warnock will retire at the end of the season?
I think he will. Um, Going back to what happened with Salah, I think it's hit him like a ton of bricks. And I think he's probably in the mindset now where, this has all taken its toll on him, and he's thinking, now this is just football now. I'll see the season out and then go and enjoy the rest of my life.
Yeah, I
And I
think,
think he will just step
especially,
away from football completely.
yeah, I think so. And when you consider that, I think just before Christmas there was rumors about him coming, and
Mm,
and then there was a week's worth of like reports on Wales Online and Sun and
yeah,
stuff saying he doesn't want to come.
yeah,
So that was the end of that. And then, as it turns out, Warnock had been out to see him and speak to him
yeah,
and had convinced him to come. And I think that on its own is like it's a big burden to feel, because you
yeah,
feel like you've convinced this person to take this job, and
yeah,
then that's all happened. I saw an interview with Fabio actually a couple of days ago, who said he had spoken to Salah and said, "No, go to
yeah.
Cardiff,
What
it's
a
a great
great place
place,"
Cardiff was.
and he feels terrible. This sad thing. Um, I wasn't going to touch on this, but I'm going to touch on it quickly. Is I've
Mm,
seen for the last week people on Twitter and Facebook and stuff slagging Cardiff off, saying, "Oh, they should have some decency and pay the money, blah blah blah." If you got a mortgage for a house and the house burnt down, and then it turned out you hadn't signed the contract and the insurance weren't going to pay you, then you wouldn't still pay the money if the contract wasn't signed. It's just, I know it sounds horrible, but that's just business. In terms of how Cardiff City as a business are going to look at it, they're not just going to hand 15 million over if everything's not in order.
I get what you're saying.
I think they should pay it, by the way, but I can just, the way people have jumped on it, I just think they're being a bit naive to think that they're just going to chuck the money to them.
But you know,
when
I mean, I think the contract was signed. There were photos of him signing the contract.
Yeah, I think it was just that it had to be redone or something.
But you know,
it's just it was going to get redone, wasn't it? You know what I mean?
The whole thing just stinks, doesn't it? I mean, you know, they paraded Salah as a Cardiff player. They've got pictures of him in the shirt, pictures of him holding the shirt. He was on a flight to Cardiff to go to training. He was a Cardiff player.
Yeah, and they're like, once a bluebird, always a bluebird, and all that type of stuff.
And now,
and it's like all
now
of a sudden,
it's like, well, he wasn't really. No, come on.
He had to sign a different piece of paper. It's like, yeah, I don't know. There's like, I think from a personal level, I think they should pay it, because I think his family
agree with you.
His family should get his cut, and I don't really care about the agent, but I mean, I guess they'd have to have their whatever it is.
The agent should get absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I can't even talk about him. I do not like him.
No.
How do you think?
We can't, because we might see something libelous.
Yes, that's right. Don't want to get sued in my first few weeks.
No.
So, how do you think Cardiff will do versus Chelsea? Because Chelsea have picked up a bit of a run recently.
Yeah, they have, haven't they?
I was hoping they were going to sack the manager. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I can't see anything other than a loss there.
Yeah, I mean, they could pick up a point, it'd be nice, I suppose.
It would be nice.
I can't see how, unless they do something special. They need Camarasa and Arta to play and not be on the bench. They seem to do better with those two in midfield. But I don't know. It's going to be difficult. Very difficult to get anything there, I think. Okay. So to finish off, we'll do quick predictions of the games this weekend. See how well we do. Okay.
This is going to be awful. Well we do.
Yeah. So you got Fulham, Man City. What
Man City win.
You can't say win. You've got to say the score.
2-1 Man City.
2-1. That's very generous. I'm going to go 4-0.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, 4-0 Man City.
I'm being a bit generous.
Not 4-0 Fulham.
Well, no,
Crystal Palace, Huddersfield.
That's got draw written all over it. 1-1.
1-1 for Haley. I think Palace will win 2-0. Why not? Leicester, Bournemouth.
Now. 2-1 Leicester.
2-1. I will go 2-2. That one. Brighton versus Southampton.
South Coast Derby. 2-0 Brighton.
2-0 Brighton. Gone against Southampton.
Yes.
I'm going to say 1-0 for that one. Man United, Watford.
3-0 United.
Yeah, I think 3-1. And then we got West Ham, Everton.
2-1 to Everton.
Yeah, 1-0 Everton for me, that one. Cardiff, Chelsea, what did you say? You said 3-1 Chelsea, didn't you?
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
did, yeah.
think I'm going to be optimistic, and I'm going to say 1-1.
I'm being optimistic. I said we'll score.
Yeah, that's optimistic-ish. Okay, and then Liverpool Spurs. That'd be a good game.
3-3.
3-3.
I'm going for a high scoring week this week.
Yeah, I think that's gonna. I do agree that one's gonna be a high score. I'm gonna go with 4-3 to Spurs.
Ooh.
Because I cannot say that Liverpool will win. I will never hear the end of it.
Nope.
Okay, I've recorded all those, and we'll see how badly we did next
Great
time.
news.
So that's it for now. Thank you for joining me, Hayley. I appreciate it. And Jamesy, as he flitted in and out and put some points on it, the Premiership and Division 1. Tell the people what your social media is, where they can find you.
So you can find me at Just Simply Hales on Twitter, or if you want to give Fee Wales a follow, it is at FE_Wales.
Job done. Well done. I'm Simon. That's Hayley. Thank you for joining us for the first football podcast on Ace Podcast Nation. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Give us a follow on Twitter. Is ACEcast_Nation. Bye.